I don't remember which stories that I told you. Did I tell you the story about Rabbi Mendel Futterfest and the deep sea diver?
Yes? No.
Okay.
Maybe.
No?
You did.
I did. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you tell it to him because he didn't hear it. You have to tell it to him. All right. Let's see. Here's another story. Here's a story about two rabbis in Sukkot. Two rabbis. One of them, I think, was Rabbi. I'm sorry, I had the names of them. I think one of them was Rabbi Prus, and the other one was anyway. Two Chabad rabbis, and they were sent to Kafkaz or someplace like that for exile. What the communists would do is they would send people into exile. They would send them far away, and they had to report twice a week, twice a day, whatever, to the communist headquarters. And they had to live in these crazy places that were hot and were like the Rebbe's father. They sent them to places. The places were a town. It was a town, but it was far nowhere, and then it was terrible weather and cold, and the people there were all very backward. Anyway, so there were these two rabbis, Chabad rabbis. And one of them said to the other one, now they're stuck in somewhere in Siberia, whatever, Tajikistan. It's an Arab place. Anyway, that's where they're in exile. So one of them says to the other one, you know that in about a week, it's going to be Sukkot. And so let's call one of them is Shmerel and the other one is Moshe. So Shmerel says to Moshe, you know that in another week, it's going to be Sukkot. So Moshe said, yeah, I know. My heart is broken. You can't do any commandments. This is terrible. We're in exile over here. He says, no. I built a sukkah. I said, what? You built a sukkah? How can you build a sukkah over here? I said, well, every day for the last half year or so, I first of all I walked around and I just sort of walked around, and I saw that in back of one of these houses, how did it work in this place? A lot of places in Russia it's like that. You drive down the street and all you see is like the fronts of houses. They're all right next to each other, fronts of the house, and then once in a while there's this big opening. You go into the opening and that's like a little square. It's almost like it was in the Gemara, like a chatzer. There's a big square in the back. That's where people park their cars. And it's a big square, and you see the backs of all the houses. And that's the way it is on all sides of the street, right? On sides of the street. So he said, well, I wandered around and I went back of some of the houses and I saw that there was this old shack. And I, sort of looked in it and nobody said anything to me. And I saw it was filled with these old like rags and things like that. Nobody used it. So it didn't belong to anybody. So every day I took out a couple rags and, then afterwards I threw a couple of branches and logs on top. And until finally, we got a sukkah. I made a sukkah. And so we can go there. Here, I'll show you where it is. And he takes them around and he shows them where it is. It's pretty. It's a little sort of shack, big enough for two people and a table. Says, so next week is going to be Sukkot. Let's, make Kiddush and we'll make a little l'chaim. And so he said, okay, good. But l'chaim is a little bit hard for me. Moshe says back to Shmerel, because I have ulcers in his bed. Says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. So he says, you bring the wine and the fish, and I'll bring bread and the vegetables, and there was no meat. Good. Comes the night of Sukkot, and sure enough, there they are. And they had one of them had little lantern. They brought the lantern, they put it on the table. There's a little table there. And they closed the door from the inside. And he said, okay, what did you bring? He said, well, here's the bread. Here's the salad. He said, what about you? You were supposed to bring wine. He says, oh, listen, I want to tell you something. I have two pieces of bad news. I have two pieces of good news. One second. Two pieces of bad news and one piece of really good news. So he said, oh yeah. What's the good? He said, well, one piece of bad news is that I couldn't find any wine. I couldn't find any wine. I tried to buy grapes. It's not in the season, whatever it is. I thought it'd crushed. I can't find any wine. Says, okay, that's not good news. He said, but I have good news. And the good news is that I have vodka. And we can make Kiddush on vodka. And that's what Shmerel says. Moshe says, listen, you make Kiddush on vodka, but not me. I have ulcers. I can't. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. He said, one second, what is the other bad news you had? He said, I made a figure. I figured it out, what building our sukkah is in the back of. And it comes out that it's in the back of the KGB secret police headquarters. So Shmerel says, Moshe says back to Shmerel, that's pretty bad news. I mean, that's really bad news. I said, but listen, don't worry about it. It's in the nighttime, and there's nothing wrong with, just sitting around making a l'chaim. That's not forbidden, and we reported to them today. So we'll do it really quick. And, we'll make l'chaim. I said, okay, you make l'chaim. I said, no. This is a holiday. It's a chag. We both have to make l'chaim. We both have to make kiddush on vodka. And Moshe says, listen, you do it. I can't. I tell you, I've got ulcers and I can't now, empty stomach, and we're going to get drunk. And they're going to, I said, look, what are you going to drunk? Come on. We're Chassidim. We know how to hold our vodka. We're not going to get drunk. We're going to be able to, we'll just get a little happy. We'll make kiddush, and then we'll wash our hands. Here I have water here right outside. And we'll wash our hands, and, we'll come in and we'll sing a little song, eat a little bit of fish, and that's it. We did the mitzvah. So Moshe says back to Shmerel, listen, it doesn't sound good to me, but okay. So they both make kiddush on vodka, and they go out and they wash their hands, or maybe they wash their hands inside of the sukkah, whatever they do. And they sit down and they eat, and they make kiddush, they make on bread. But what in the time that it takes them to wash their hands, and they had to do it very quietly and everything like that. So the vodka, and they didn't have really what to eat. So the vodka starts taking over, and they start to feel, good. And they're eating bread. They don't have much to eat. So the vodka is really working. They each one drank a whole cup. And so, they get a little bit drunk, and they start to talk quietly. But it ends up, because they get drunk, so it ends up that the sukkah gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it takes over the whole, square where they're in, the whole town and all of Russia and the whole world. And there's just them and Hashem. And they're sitting in a sukkah. And they start to sing. They're happy. Oh, they're happy and they're singing. And the sukkah is sort of rocking back and forth. And each one says to the other one, shh, they laugh and they're singing. All of a sudden, a knock on the door. Oh, what's that? They came back to themselves. And they say, who is it? He says, it's Ibrahim. Who is Ibrahim? Ibrahim happened to be the superintendent of the building where they were in. A nice guy. They get along with him really well. So they open up the door. Hi, Ibrahim. How you doing? He says, what are you fellas doing here? I said, oh, it's a birthday. We have a birthday party. They say, yeah, oh, really? Whose birthday is it? So both of them point to the other one, his birthday. So he says, listen, I know what you're doing. He says, this is your holiday. Prosnik. It's your holiday. And you're celebrating. So they said, all right, so it's our holiday, so what it's forbidden to make a holiday over here. We can't, get a little bit drunk. He said, listen, I have greetings for you. He says, oh yeah, you have greetings. Yes. He says, my greetings from my cousin. He said, your cousin, who's your cousin? He says, from Camille. They hear the word Camille. It's like somebody threw a bucket of cold water on them. Camille was the head of the KGB. He was the head of the secret police. They said, Camille says hello. Ibram says, tell me, you couldn't find another place to put your holiday box except in the back of the KGB offices? So I was just with Camille up in his room, in his office, and he said, hey, you hear that? I said, no, I don't hear nothing. He says, listen, he went to opened up the room, the door, and here's you guys, your little booth is shaking back and forth, and you're singing, yelling and screaming. So he said, you know what that is? So I said, I don't know. A couple of people got a little bit drunk. I said, what, can't get drunk? What's wrong with that? He said, no. Camille said, no. He said, that's those Jews. He said, I hate those Jews. I hate them. I said, okay, but they're not doing anything wrong. He said, no. What do you mean they're not doing anything wrong? You know why they're here? Because they keep their religion. Because they deny communism. They keep their religion. And that's why they're doing now. They're keeping their religion. They're happy now because it's a holiday of theirs. And they're doing exactly what they did to get put in here. That's the crime. They're keeping their religion. They can't do that. I said, oh, come on. Let them, they're nice people. Let them have a little bit of sense. Listen, Camille said to me, I want you to go down there and tell them that I envy them. They know that I hate them. They know the whole world hates them. And what do? They celebrate. They're happy. I said, I envy them. How they could have such power to defy the whole world and to be happy. I want you to go. I would tell them myself, but I know it would wreck their whole holiday. You go down and tell them what I just said and wish them a happy holiday. After the two of them got out, they said that was the happiest Sukkot we ever had in our whole lives.
Very good.
Okay.
So, good one.
Good story?
Very
So good.
Okay, see you at 3 o'clock, kids. 3 o'clock. We're learning Chumash with Rashi. Where's your brother? You had a brother? No? Not here? Okay. Shalom.